In looking at the reference images again, I've found one that I think will show us where that angle is, where that edge is. So right along here, it looks like the cab, the top of the cab angles in at this edge right here. You can see it in this angle. And it looks like it's in line with the bottom of the back window. So what we could do, I think, let me go to the side view here and let's go to wireframe. What we could do is grab this point right here and just drag it up so this edge is in line with the bottom of the window right there. So now we take a look at that. Yeah, so now you can see that's that angle. I think that's the way we want it. All right, in addition, that top part, let's take a look at that. You can see that it's angled back here. It goes pretty much straight up there. And in the front view, it looks like it angles in here. So let's go ahead and work on that real quick. I'll tab into edit mode and select this face here. Now, the other side, we're not seeing the edges and polygons of the other side. Let's go ahead and come over here to the mirror modifier and turn on this so we can see the edit cage happening over here as well. There we go. All right, so let's go to the side view and let's hit E and drag straight up. And you know what we should have done? Let me tumble around here, and I think if I have this face selected and I hit the G key, take a look at what happens. Look at how we've actually created or extruded two faces instead of one mirrored face. So that's going to be a problem. We don't want to do that, right? So let's press Control Z and go back a ways. Let me hit G. And here's the problem. If I hit G and pull out and push in, they act as two different units. And we don't want that. We want it to act as if it's all one unit. To do that, in the mirror modifier, we can turn on clipping right here. And then if I hit G and pull out and in, you can see that center line, those center edges, clip together, merging the points together, creating a single unit here on the top. So now, if we go to the side view and hit E and pull straight up, now let's hit G and do that, and now you can see it's all one unit. That's what we want. All right, so I'll hit the 2 key and Alt-click this edge right here. Now we can drag this back so it's in line with the reference image right here. And then if we select these faces on top here, hit the 1 key, now we should be able to press S and X and scale in like this. Now let's take a look. Yeah, so I think that's a little bit better. All right, so now let's talk about the doors here. The doors are kind of an interesting thing in that there's a couple of issues. One, we've got the doors in and of themselves are kind of inset into a hole, which is the shape of the door. And also the doors are molding to this angled cab as well. So we've got to both cut a hole for the door or somehow get them in a hole of the same shape, and we've got to mold them to the angles of the cab. So how do we do that? Well, I think we're going to need to use a couple of the modifiers that we've already used, as well as maybe a new one or two. So let's see what we can do. First of all, what I want to do is create the shape of the door here, right here. And I'm just going to use a polygon plane and just create the basic shape. And then what I'm going to do is take that plane and mold it to the cab. Once the plane has the same angles as the cab, then I'll give that plane thickness with the solidify modifier, and then I'll use the Boolean modifier to cut that hole. All right, so let's see. Let's see how it works. I'm going to press Shift A and go to Mesh Plane. Here we go. And let's turn this. Let's press RY90. There we go. And let's move this out a bit. And then let's hit the 3 key and let's bring it up Scale it down, and let's get it kind of in place here. So I'll come up here, and I'll kind of begin right here. I'm just going to begin with this corner on this edge right there. Then I'll tab into edit mode and hit the 1 key. Now let's begin just placing these points where we think they should go. So I'll hit the G key and kind of move this like this here. And then I'll take this point and hit the G key and move it right over to there. And then this one I'll select and move right over to there. So you can see I've got these points now lined up with the corners of the door there. Now let's take this edge right here and let's extrude it. Hit E, and I'm going to bring it down and maybe line it up with this corner right there. Grab this point, hit G, and move it over here like this. Okay. All right, so now let's take a look at that. I'll hit the Z key and go to solid. So we just have a polygon plane in the shape of that front door. But if we try and put it on here, you can see it isn't angling the way the cab is, and we need it to do that. So how do we do that? Well, we need to give it an edge that is in line with this edge that we created on the cab. So if I come over here, if we take a look at it, this corner is not quite where we want it to be. So I'm just going to move this up so we have room to create an edge right along here. So I'll press Control R and click, and I'm going to bring it up in line with this edge. You can see I've put that point right there. And then this point here, I'll hit G and move it so it's right along that edge there. So it looks to me like, yeah, it looks like that edge goes in line with that edge of the door. So I'm just going to put it right there. All right, so that now we have an edge that mirrors or that lines up with the one on the cab. Now, if we hit the Z key and go to solid mode, let's take this thing and shrink wrap it to the cab so it molds to its shape. So before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and apply the rotation and scale, Control A and rotation and scale. And then I'm going to come over here to the modifiers panel and click Add Modifier right here, Shrink Wrap. I'll click that. Now we need to give it a target, which is going to be the cab. I'll click on the eyedropper, click on the cab, and there it goes. So now it's molding to the shape of that cab, and that's what we want. Now I'll click Apply here, and then let's drag it back out, and there it is. So now we've got the shape of the door with the angle of the cab. Now let's create the hole that the door is going to sit in. To do that, let's go back to the modifiers panel, add modifier, and we'll give it some thickness with the solidify modifier. There we go. Now I'm going to click and drag in the thickness field, give it some thickness there like that. Now I want to move it in and cut into the cab with a Boolean, but before I do that, I need to hit apply. I'm going to apply the solidify here. Now I want to take this, move it in, about like that. Guess I don't need it that far in. I can do it about like that. Now let's select the cab, click Add Modifier, Boolean. Let's go down to the Boolean modifier at the bottom, click on the eyedropper, select our door, and then click Apply. All right, now let's take a look. Move that out, and there's the hole that our door will go into. All right, so let's move it in to about where we want it, like that maybe. And then I want to shrink it down just a bit. I want to bring it out just a hair, and I'm going to hit the S key, and I'm going to hold the Shift key down just so it moves very slowly. And I'm going to scale in just a little. Give it a little bit of breathing room there and move it down a bit maybe. Move it over some. I just want it to have a little bit of room in there. There we go. Something like that. So now you can see we've got the actual door in the hole, and we've got the door molded to the shape of the cab as well. All right, in the next video, let's go ahead and do that again with the back door, and then we'll begin working on the windows.